Hello there again. Thank you for dropping by. Welcome to intermediate fiddle lesson number 2. Today's lesson I'm going to be talking about the amount of time you should be practicing. I'm going to be talking about tuning. I'm going to be talking about the key of G and trying to understand a little bit about the musical notation of that key. And that's basically, and we're going to end up with a nice simple tune at the end of this lesson. So that's where I'm going. Let's make a start. Practicing. I think if you can, try and practice each day. I know it's not always possible, but if you can. Why? Muscle memory. Because your fingers, your body remembers the position of where the notes are, how the bowing coordination works. It all seems to remember this information. And the more you do that, the easier it becomes to play with the right notes. The intonation is correct. In other words, you're hitting the right notes on the fingerboard, and your arm is moving in the right sort of direction. So muscle memory is very, very important. And it doesn't happen overnight. It can take a year, it can take 2 years, depends how much time you develop. Even if you spent the next 2 days playing continuously, you perhaps wouldn't progress that well. It's got to be done over a longer period of time. So even just a short practice each day is better in a way than one mammoth practice over a couple of days. So try and get the opportunity to practice at least once a day if possible. I must admit I do still pick up the violin, the fiddle, wherever I can. However, if you need to take a break, and there are times like perhaps when you have a new job or perhaps a new baby arrives in the family, there are times when you have to take a break, and I must admit I've been in that situation myself, taken a year out of playing and come back to it, been a bit rusty for a month or two, but gradually the muscle memory, the skill level has returned. So it seems that your body remembers what you've learned. So it's almost like learning skills and putting them away in the bank. They don't seem to disappear. That's the first thing then. So try and get yourself into a regular practicing routine. The second thing is keeping the violin in tune. So we've got G, D, A, E basically. These are the strings. Okay, so there are marvellous things out there now like this. This is a free tuner that I've got on my mobile phone. Fantastic. Prior to that, I think in the old days I used to use pitch pipes, little tiny pipes things like a harmonica that you used to blow into. And then of course electronic tuners turned up, and some of them do it by the vibrations in the instrument and some of them do it by sound. Whichever way you choose to go, bear in mind that electronic tuners, wonderful though they are, that's the note of G. Wonderful though they are, sometimes they don't always sound right when you play the open strings. Now what you've got to do is you play the, say for instance, the G and the D together. Those two notes together, that sounds okay. I'll play the A and the D. That sounds bad news to me. I can hear that sort of vibration. I think those are called the beats. When the notes aren't quite in tune with each other, there's a sort of regular rhythm. I can hear that anyway, and also the open A and the E. So, okay, the electronic tuners are wonderful, but I'm going to use my ears now. Yes, I'm more happy with that. So don't be too heavily reliant upon the electronic tuners. They're great as a guide, but then use your ears. That's the second point. Moving on from there, by the end of today's lesson, with a little bit of luck, we'll be playing something like this. That's where we're going to end up. But first of all, I want to teach you something about scales, and I'm going to try and introduce you to the scale of G today, which is basically starting on the G string. So to do that, first of all, I'm going to refer you now to the piano keyboard, and I'm going to play the scale of C, because that's completely devoid of any flats and sharps, in other words black notes. So I'll just transfer now and show you the keyboard, the scale of C. Let's have a look at the piano keyboard first. That's the note C, and that's one octave of C. So do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Now that's the scale of C. Now looking at the scale of G, we need to move down a little bit so that the first note is G, like the fourth string on the violin. And I go do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Something sounds odd. I'll play it again. That note there should actually be a black one, which is F. This is F, and that is F sharp. So when we're playing in the key of G, we've got one sharp note, and that's F sharp. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So let's have a look on the violin, what that sounds like. Okay, so that's the scale of G. As you can see now, it has one sharp in it. And I'll start it off from the bottom G string, open string. Then we'll play the first note on the G string, which is this one. Play it with your first finger. And then the next note on the G string is with the middle finger, and then ring finger on the third note. So we've got this. Then we transfer to the open D string. Then we go on to the first note of the D string. Then on to the second note of the D string with our middle finger, and then finally onto the third note of the D string with our ring finger. Now that is, and also the note G. If I play that and then play the open G, exactly the same note. So we played 1 octave, 7 notes, but to reach the 8th G we have to play 8 notes, of course. And if you're feeling really confident, you could go backwards way, the other way. Now don't do anything fancy, just keep 1 bow stroke per note. 3, 4. Again, backwards way. Now I don't really want to go on to the A and the E string today. I just want to stick with the G and the D string. Keep it nice and simple. So we're playing in the key of G. You can now see a small example of 2 measures, 2 bars of music. Now there's nothing complicated here. In fact, we've looked at these notes earlier, but if you look at the top there, I've written down what the notes are, and I've also indicated something about the bowing direction. So when you see an upturned U, it means you're pulling the bow downwards. And when you see the V, it means you're pushing the bow up. Now, over the next couple of examples, I'll show you the bow direction. But then, after that, I won't. The reason is simple, because wonderful though it is, with fiddle playing, we don't tend to concern ourselves too much with the bowing, rather the bowing direction. However, in classical music, it's a wonderful thing to see, because you see an orchestra and all the violins, the violas, etc., all the bows are going in the same direction, which is a wonderful thing to see. But it's not important with fiddle music, because if you go to a session, you might see the bows going in every different direction. It's what I call a shipwreck. Basically, it's every person for themselves. So, although I'm going to indicate the bowing direction on the next couple of examples, from there on in, I won't be showing you that, because that's less of a concern. Unless, of course, there is a point where I want to discuss something and just give you an illustration. But with this tune, getting back to this tune, all it is the G string pulled down with a bow, and then the D string with an up bow, both open strings, and then the note B, which is the second note along, with your middle finger on the G string, and then back to the D. And then I'll play that again. Okay, that's the first measure, bar. The second measure, bar, in actual fact is E, C, D, B. So let's look at that. Well, the E is the first note on the D string. That one. And then the C is the third note on the G string. That's with your ring finger. And then we return to the open D, and then back to the B, which is our second finger, middle finger on the G string. So that all together combined sounds like this. So the count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the notes that we're looking at are called crotchets, and they have one beat in each bar or measure. So 3, I'll count you in with a 3, 4, 3, 4. Okay, so we're playing in the key of G, which we've already looked at. Moving on now, the remainder of this tune, which you'll see is once again appearing next to me, sounds like this. The first bar you should recognise because it's the repeat of the first bar. That one. Play it again. Now we're going to introduce an F, which is the middle finger, the second note on the D string. That one. And then we're going to play the G that we already have looked at with our third finger, ring finger on the D string, and then the A. Now I did say we wouldn't be going on to the A and the E strings, but on this occasion we are. So those two measures sound like this. Now that note at the end, that A, is slightly different from the crotchets. You'll notice it's got a sort of a centre with missing. It's not completely blanked in. So that's called a minim. And basically all it is twice the value, the length of time, as a crotchet. So a crotchet, we get one beat to each bar or measure, 1, 2, but with a minim it stands for twice as much. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4 for the minim. That's all that is. It's nice and straightforward. So let's play that again. 3, 4. Again. Right, so far so good. Now I'm introducing another 4 measures or bars into this tune. I'll play them for you so you can hear what they sound like. I'll take the count again, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll start on 3, 4, 3, 4. So, starting again from the beginning. Now, don't worry if you can't just recognise the notes and figure it out in your mind at the moment, because on a sort of subliminal level, this information is now going in and your mind is starting to receive this, and it goes back to that story I was mentioning at the beginning. Nothing happens immediately. It takes a long period of time. And musical notation and recognising the notes in the same way takes a long period of time. And basically what I'm trying to do here is introduce you to simple notation, and your mind is gradually starting to recognise where those shapes are represented on the fingerboard. So that's the idea anyway. So don't worry if it's, you know, quite confusing at the moment. Just go with it, because it does start to gradually sink into your mind, and you do start to remember after a period of time. Okay, so that's the second part of the tune. I better play it one more time. 3, 4. Again. Right, let's live a bit dangerously now and see if we can put the whole lot together. This is what it looks like. My goodness me. It looks like spiders have been walking across the page. But having said that, if you bear in mind what I was saying about recognition and gradually learning things, we'll play through this a few times, and then gradually over a period of time, as I start to introduce you to new notation, new keys, hopefully some of it should stick. It's a bit like mud on a wall, really. Anyway, starting from the top, this is the tune again. Try reading off the notation if you can. 3, 4. Down bow. Three, 4. Again. Slightly quicker. Okay, now let's jazz it up a little bit. What we'll do is we'll put a drone note in. In other words, we're going to play 2 strings simultaneously whilst playing that same melody. Like that. Goodness me, let's just check it out what I was playing there. I was just playing the same tune. But simply playing the string next to it at the same time. You need that slack bow, slightly slack anyway, not too slack, but you need a bit of, you know, to be able to hit 2 strings, but that's nice. At the end you can put the G and also the G an octave lower. That always sounds nice. Just makes it sound out, ring out in a way. Okay, so let's start again. 3, 4. Now you can carry on playing that all afternoon or all evening if you wish. Upset the neighbours, upset the local cats. Who cares? Doesn't matter. We're having some fun. Or you can pick it up a bit in speed. Doing something there interesting there. Did you notice I was actually altering the pressure on the bow? I was giving it a bit of a punch at the end of each bow stroke. I'm overemphasizing, but you can see the general idea. I'm just pushing it slightly. It's on the up bow actually, so on the down bow I'm just doing a normal bow stroke, but on the up stroke I'm just giving it a slight bit of power. Now I'm overemphasizing that, but that's basically what I'm doing when I'm playing the originally like this. Okay, so when you've driven everybody balmy with that tune, you can step up a notch. You can literally take the same tune onto the A string if you wish. I know I said we weren't going to play the A and the E strings, but I've changed my mind. Drop down. Now, I think that's as far as I want to go today. Just to recap, we've learned something a little bit about the scale of G, which was very, very useful. 1 sharp in this key. We've learned a few notes. We know we're never going to just immediately be able to read musical notation, but something will have stuck there today. And each time we repeat these lessons, or rather as we progress and look at further notation, a little bit more will start to be retained in your mind, and each time you come back to it, you'll be slightly more familiar. It's a bit like an artist doesn't start out with an incredible amount of, well, maybe they do have an incredible amount of talent, but they have to work at it. And it's the same with music. We have to work at it. And on that note, I will say cheerio until the next lesson. Thank you for watching.